purposes. We can make exceptions if you don't want to be posted on social media, so please let David Cody know privately in a message if you don't want your video or stills to be included. Our club does focus on learning skills for better webinars and online events. We do use, as everybody knows, Ring Central, which also uses Zoom as the video platform. The meeting tips is if you don't have a noise canceling microphone, use earbuds or a headset. Mute yourself when you're not speaking so we don't pick up background noise. And you can mute or unmute the video on and off if you're going to do anything distracting, like get up from your chair while somebody is speaking, or you have to do something else that might be visually distracting. The button in the upper right-hand corner switches between gallery view and speaker view. And the controls for the microphone mute and video mute are on the bottom lower half corner. Keep aware of who the timer is if you're a speaker for any of the speaking events. Make sure you know who it is so you can keep track of it. It is a good idea to use your own timing device in addition to relying on the timer. And ask the timer to use an audible signal if you would like one. And that's your choice. You can ask for an audible signal in addition to the visual signal. If you want to join the club or know somebody who might be interested in joining the club, direct them to our website and click on the join button. We do require everybody includes 6 Toastmasters speeches, but we do make exceptions for people that have not been in Toastmasters or are new, but have speaking experience, and we ask them to give a 1 to 2 minute speech about why they want to join the club. And now I'll turn the meeting over to our Toastmaster, Dagmara.
Thank you, Mr. President, and welcome officially everyone, our fellow Toastmasters and dear guests. I am your Toastmaster of the day, and the theme of today's meeting is Nobel Prize Day. What an amazing award. It's been awarded since 1901 to people who have conferred the greatest benefits to the mankind. So I'm sure you have your favorite or least favorite Nobel Prize winners, but we will talk about this later. Now I want to talk about equally amazing people that helped me to run this meeting. We will start with our counter. Jim Dent, could you please tell us more about your role?
Yes, I will be counting the ahs, ums, so's, wells, any inappropriate long pauses, and other filler word type.
Thank you so much, Jim.
Words.
Thank you so much, Jim. Now it's time for our timer. Jim Gold, can you please introduce your role and show us how you are going to measure the time?
Absolutely, Madam Toastmaster. I'll be your timer tonight, and time is required in the manuals, and everything is just fine. I have a green light. I'll have green. I have a yellow light. It's almost time. I have a red light when it is time to be up, and I might flash the red just a little bit if it gets to be too much time. I'm actually using the timing device that comes as an app for Toastmasters. It's a great tool. Madam Toastmaster.
That's wonderful. Bravo. Now it's time for our grammarian, Karol Prachinsky. Could you please tell us more about your role and the word of the day?
You're muted, Carol.
Thank you. As I just said, Oh, yeah. I'm going to capture what you said well and what you could use some improvement on. And second, we have a word of the day. The word of the day is meld, M-E-L-D. And it's both a verb and a noun. So as a verb, it means to blend or combine, such as Australian winemakers have melded modern science with traditional art. As a noun, it means it's a thing formed by merging or blending, such as our club is a melding of many, oops, I used it as a, anyway, our club no, that's a verb too. Forget it. All right. Anyway, it can be used as a verb and a noun. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, Carol. What a challenging words. I hope you will be using it profusely. And time for our watcher. Nick Lakhani, can you please introduce your role?
Thank you very much, Madam Toastmaster. My name is Nick. I'm going to be the watcher today. The watcher is not what it says on the tin. It's not a stalker or some sort of eerie little, odious little man. What I'm doing is I'm going to be looking at you while you're looking at everybody else. So it's really important to, in terms of the club, one of the reasons I joined it was that I want to get better at webinars and online events. So what I want you to do is to imagine that you're on an online panel or in a real panel, and you're not speaking, but you're still on the panel directly in front of the audience. How would you behave? Okay, you wouldn't take the fruit out and start chomping away. You wouldn't actually go and drill for oil or anything like that, would you? So what I want you to do is focus, be professional, and if you want to, then switch off the camera and then do what you need to do and then come back on as soon as you can. Thank you very much and good luck.
Thank you, Nick, for this wonderful introduction to your role. Now it's time to present our chat monitor. Viviana Vijaya, please introduce your role.
Thank you, Mara. So my role is to have the Toastmaster of the day, to monitor the group chat if there are important announcements or the question not answered. Back to you, Mara.
Thank you, everyone, for your help. I cannot wait for this meeting to start, so I want to jump right into the formal prepared speeches. Just before we start, a reminder to our speakers that they can pin our timer's video to their device so they can see Jim go. Today we have plenty of people and plenty of guests, so it's easy to lose our timer, and you want to stay within your time. Let's start with our first prepared speech. The first speaker is Hef Xiang, and he's going to speak from the customer. His speech is from 5 to 7 minutes. Hef will be evaluated by Scott Johnson, and the title of his speech is "What is Success?" Please help me introduce now Hef Xiang. What is success?
By the time you go home tonight, you're going to learn how you should define your success. Success means many things to many people. But the most common definition of success I obtain here is that success is all about getting what you want. If you get what you want, all what you want, you are successful. To me, a success is all about getting what you want, all what you want. That means babies, your baby, my baby, when I have one, are the most successful person in the whole world. Because babies always get what they want. Now, raise your hand if you have a baby recently. Okay, some of you. Now, one more question. Raise your hand if you used to be a baby. Okay, all of us. So, is maybe are the most successful person in the whole world. The question is, what do baby do to be the most successful person in the whole world? They eat, they sleep, they poop, they cry, and now they are the most successful person in the whole world? Well, maybe not. And if success is all about getting what you want or what you want, what do young adults or do students want? Students want a good grade. And some of them may want to have a boyfriend or a girlfriend too. I don't blame them. But if a student get a good grade and then have a boyfriend or a girlfriend, would you consider them successful? And really, maybe not. So to me, this definition has two flaws. One flaw is you want all what you want, but you most likely get what you need. If all you want is what you need, you are already successful. And the second flaw is what you want may never be enough. It could become an endless thing. For example, John D. Rockefeller was the first rich man in the US. And some people say he was the first billionaire in the whole world back then. He had a lot of money, billions of dollars. But one day when a reporter asked him how much money is enough, you know what he said? He said just a bit more. So if you define your success is all about getting what you want or what you want, your life will never have peace, or at least it's all about pursuing more stuff, more things all the time. To me, the word success is a word not applicable to babies or young adults or students. It is commonly applicable to adults, to grown-up person. Here are three adults I consider very, very successful. Bill Gates, Mother Teresa, and Jackie Chan, the Chinaman. And there is one common thing among those three people. They work to support themselves and their family. And as an adult, each of us is going to spend 20 years, 30 years, or 40 years of our life working to earn a living or to make a fortune. So therefore, here is my definition of success. Success is doing the work that you love to do while being able to earn a living from it, if not a fortune. Let me repeat that one more time. Success is doing the work that you love to do while being able to earn a living from it, if not a fortune. There are two parts of the statement. Number one, doing the work that you love to do. Some people out there, they believe that if you do the work that you love to do, you are already successful. But in reality, that's not true. Because right now, a lot of people out there are doing the work that you love to do, but somehow they struggle. They struggle to support themselves. One case in the history is this. Now, who can tell me who this is? Who is this? Okay, you could type in the chat if you want. I could see all of you. Okay, if you don't, no, not that one, Alfred Nobel, not that one. Let me give you a clue. This is one of his painting. Could you see that? Yes, Vincent van Gogh. If you studied his life, Van Gogh loved what he did, and actually he was very, very good at what he did. But somehow he could not support himself. Think about that. Someone who was very good at what he did, and some people say he was a genius in painting, but he could not support himself. In his whole life, he could only sell one painting, which was equivalent to $109 in today's money. He was so terrible that He killed himself at the age of 37 years old. A genius who killed himself. The genius who killed himself. Another part of the state money is you could earn a living from what you do. Will you consider yourself successful? Maybe not. Especially if you do something illegal or you do something that you don't like. Because if you keep doing what you don't like, at the end of the day, even you make the money, but you feel empty inside. So in summary, that is my definition of success. By the way, if you do what you like to do, if you cannot find a way to earn a living from it, let me tell you this, you cannot do it very long, especially when you have an Asian mother-in-law. If you don't believe me, just ask Roger, he's going to tell you. So in summary, that is my definition of success. Success is doing the work that you love to do and while being able to earn a living from it, if not a fortune. That is my definition of success. My question, my challenge to all of you right now is, what is yours? What is your success? Toastmaster.
Thank you, Have. That was a really great on the insights of success and how we should approach that. Let's move to our second speaker, John Quick. John Quick is soon to become one of the world's first Toastmaster to complete the strategic relationship path in Pathways. And today he wants to reflect on the process of completing a path and looking forward to more projects to come. So his speech is entitled Reflecting on My First Pathways Path, and it will take from 7 to 10 minutes, and John will be evaluated by Jim Barber. Please welcome John Quick, Reflecting on My First Pathways Path. John, take it away.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster and fellow Toastmasters. Yes, I'm soon to complete my very first path in Pathways. In fact, this is my last speech for that adventure. And in fact, we all do it, reflect on your path. It's the last speech of every path in Pathways. And this is an opportunity to look back at the whole path and hopefully share something interesting with others in reflection on that path. As Dagmara mentioned in the introduction, I chose the strategic relationships path. This is a very unpopular path because only about 22 people, I looked up the data today, have completed this path so far in the entire world. And that's about, for the people who've had it the longest, about 2 years of Pathways. And to give you a comparison, I believe it's the most popular path, Presentation Mastery, has had about 126 level 5s. So a couple of things to take away. One is I'm new and out there on the strategic relationships. Another one is not that many people have completed paths yet, which I hope we can turn around in the next year or so and get more people engaged in the system. But my path started, I live in South Florida, but my path started in Canada because at the time I was a member of a club in Canada. It was actually 1 year ago, almost exactly, I think it was December 12th, something like that. I logged in because it's a hybrid club and I saw something called a Pathways Ambassador and a Pathways Guide giving a presentation about Pathways. And just like most people in the world, I ignored this and just went on being a Toastmaster for another 6 or 8 months. So much later, once the Pathways started coming to South Florida, like another 6 months later, they started talking about Pathways Guides and Pathways Ambassadors. I became a Pathways Guide, which means I went around speaking. For me, it ended up being 9 clubs and helping them get an introduction to Pathways. that's when I had a huge advantage, because I, unlike a lot of people, sadly, who were out there as guides and ambassadors, couldn't even see the platform. Because I had this club in Canada, I could log in and see it. And I started thinking to myself, if I'm going to go out there and get people excited about this and pitch this, I better know about it, if not believe in it myself. So I did go into it, and I found it was quite good. I maybe should have even been not so oblivious to it several months earlier, because it's worthwhile to get into. So that's how I got started. And here's the thing, they send you around to clubs giving hour-long speeches. So I never had any intention this year to complete a path, really. It's just because I went around speaking so much that I very rapidly made progress going down that path. Then on top of that, I became an area director. So once again, I'm going around to a lot of clubs, often having to fill in for speaking slots or attending other events where I speak. So I did a lot more speaking this year than I really had to or planned to. And in fact, I didn't really have to go on schedules anymore in my actual clubs, because any given week I would have to show up somewhere and do a speech. So now I have to get back into the routine of signing up and scheduling things again. So that's how the path got completed. But you know what, in the end, I'm glad I took strategic relationships. This is a leadership path. It's not so much a speaking path. Like I said, if you want to focus really on doing your speaking, go for presentation mastery. The big scary thing in strategic relationship and a couple other paths is a 6-month commitment to a leadership role. That's the big thing that would scare most people away from picking it. And really for good reason, because you're time bound all of a sudden to a 6-month commitment in level 5. So if you want to keep making progress, you're either stuck or you have to open up another path to get anywhere in your day-to-day business. But what I'd like to share is a little bit of what I learned about leadership in a volunteer organization. I did the bigger speech on this for my last speech, so I'm just going to give you a brief overview. What I learned is, as a volunteer leader, not everybody is motivated to contribute to the team that you're on. You don't pick your team members. And yet, what I learned is, it's not so much about the right and wrong. I already knew that before I came into this. Like, if someone commits to a role and they don't do their job, we know it's wrong. Everybody knows it's wrong. They know it's wrong. But here's the thing. We're not in a court of law where somebody's going to get a judgment in their favor. We're not in a school, whereas if you don't do your stuff you're supposed to do, you don't earn what you deserve at the end, or you're set back for your future. And we're not in a job where, yeah, I know a lot of people can not do what they're supposed to do in jobs too. But usually, eventually, there's some kinds of consequence or performance evaluation or even incentives related to that. When the volunteer organization, even worse than all those scenarios, there's really not much consequence for not performing. So we have a much harder time with motivation. But the reason I say it's not right or wrong is this. Imagine you have a team of people who need to get something done, and that thing's going to get done. And you have someone who's not, if you treat them the same way you treat everyone else, like a professional adult, who should be able to perform the responsibilities, and they're not going to do it, everyone else will suffer. And so in the end, your outcome is much worse, and it's a bigger burden, and it's more of a stress for everyone else. So what I learned this time is, instead of treating everyone the same, maybe as a leader, we should give a little bit more effort, if that's all it would take, like a personal call or a personal meeting beyond maybe the emails or other things that it takes for certain people to get their job done. If we take a little bit of an extra step to get someone who might go missing or not perform or underperform, and we can bring up their performance level to an acceptable level, then the whole system rises up. So that was the big thing that I learned, is that it's worth taking a little bit extra effort to get things done. And you really have to set aside whether it was right or wrong of that person to not do what they're supposed to do. Because what you're doing when you give a little bit of extra effort to get them to perform is you're making everything better for the outcome and everyone else who's involved. That's the major lesson I learned in those first 6 months here of leadership. And so the next thing I say then that I feel good about in this path is I really did use it to my own ends as a way to learn about leadership, and I picked a leadership path. And that's really what it became about and what I can reflect on now. One of the things that really annoys me when I go to clubs now is when people are signed up for paths, I can ask people, are you signed up? And some, usually they're like, I think so. Or some even say yes. But then I say, which path are you in? Most people cannot tell me, even if they're enrolled, what path they're in. And I'm going, really? I'm going to look like Lou here in a few minutes. Pardon me, Lou. But I can't believe people would not know what path he picked out of this. Like, really, we should be encouraging people to think about what they want. And I've always suggested, one thing I loved a long time ago, back when we weren't thinking about all this, Jimmy gave his speech, how did I pick my path? For me, I look at the end, what is level 5? And then I work backwards. And I always encourage people, go to that District 4 website and click through and see what your whole path looks like. So you can be confident that what's at the end is what you really want to have. And even if there's something in the middle that you don't like, that you're willing to go through it to get there in the end. Because when we pick a path that we really want, and we can make it work for our own professional development, that's how we get the highest value out of pathways. So that's just one path completed now. And the next one, I'm going on to visionary communication, a more speaking and goal-oriented path for my own introspection. So that's the next step. It's just one path. Let's have many more. Let's get more people into paths. I know our club is one that is really remarkable. But I hope the whole world will start getting in and doing more paths and taking the value out of this new program. Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you, John, for your tips on leadership. That was pretty enlightening. And with that being said, we are moving forward to our last speaker, Therese Quaranta. And what she will be speaking about? Well, we interact with the world through a unique set of lenses formed by layers of colorful experiences. How we interpret and make sense of the world is uniquely defined by our personality and the layering of experience filters. So Therese is going to speak today about kaleidoscope lenses. And she also asked me to, so that you can unmute yourself, please unmute yourself right now because she would like to interact with you. Help me welcome Therese Quaranta with her kaleidoscope lenses.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. I would like in just a minute to ask you to close your eyes and to let an image or a thought come to you when I say a word, a place. So are you ready? Okay, close your eyes. New York City. New York City.
Times Square.
Open your eyes.
Liberty.
Subway.
Great. You can
Taxis.
say a few things that come to mind.
Grand Central Station.
This is
Rockefeller Center.
Empire
State Building.
Little Italy.
Empire State.
Tower. Bronx, New York.
Jersey Boys.
Trash.
Skyscraper.
Madison Square Garden.
Newspaper blowing in the wind.
So tonight we have 27 people 27 sets of eyes, and 27 different unique ideas, thought, or impressions that first come to your mind when you hear the word New York City. So if we were to see a newspaper article, and in the headline, it has New York City, we would all be starting at a very different place when we read this article. Do you agree with that? You know, so where we're coming from is based on our personal experiences and our personality. Our experiences are layered upon layered. Those that see the newspaper blowing in the wind or the Times Squares, based on your experience, whether it's through TV or actually going to the city, or like Nicole, living in the city. For me, let me tell you how I think of layered experiences, so you can understand why I call it kaleidoscope lenses, being the colorful filters that you see the world through. So an example is, I am going to show you, I am the fourth child in a family of four from middle-class family in Baltimore. And I was put through 12 years of Catholic school, 4 years being all-girl Catholic school. And let me tell you, that'll make a little filter on anybody's perception. And I went to college at 17 and became an engineer in the time where there were 3 girls in my classes. And then I got married right after college. And now I have 18-year-old twins that have flown the coop, and now they're living at college. One being actually in New York City. So when I look at this, I am looking at this from the standpoint of a mother who has a child living in New York City. So that is where my perception comes in. We're each looking at the world through a different set of lenses. Lenses based on our experiences and our personalities. Has anybody taken a personality test?
Yeah.
You know, like the Myers-Briggs, or let's say even a zodiac, you know, looking at your zodiac or horoscope, or now the big test that's online, like the Facebook test that was given by Cambridge Analytica, is called the Big Five, that uses statistics. The tests also show us how we see the world. And as Toastmasters, it's really important to us to know how others see the world, because they're not looking through the lenses that we each look through. Instead, if we want to appeal to our audience, we have to think about the lenses that they're looking through, and to craft our message so that it appeals to those people and their thinking, or your thinking, not my thinking. Let me give you an example of this, because it's not only us as Toastmasters. So let's say as Toastmasters, we may be speaking to 1 or 1,000, you know, up to 1,000 people, or even more. We would need to know the people a little bit. Let me give you an example on a corporation. Let's say Pepsi and Coca-Cola. If it were summertime, like in Australia, then we might expect to see a Coke or a Pepsi advertisement. And let's say you happen to be a young man who still doesn't himself know that he is gay, but in fact he is, and this is revealed through his data. Well, Pepsi has purchased that data. And so Pepsi has crafted a message that's unique to the filters of this young man. And they have crafted the message to be an advertisement of a very good-looking, hunky guy without a shirt walking down the beach carrying a Pepsi. But Coke They did not get this data. So Coke, they have a young woman, given that they only have his demographics, they have a young woman wearing a bikini walking down the beach holding a Coke. So the next day when the young man goes to the store and he buys a Pepsi, he doesn't know, he figures this is a free will, he doesn't think anything of it. But maybe there was a little nudge. Our appeal, whether we are a politician, a corporation, or a Toastmaster, it's just an idea or words, unless we craft it in a way that looks through the filter of the people that we're speaking to. Each of us looks through a unique set of lenses, and I call this a kaleidoscope lens, based on our layering of our experiences and our personality. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster.
It was a great speech, and we love the collection of your glasses. I would like to ask our timer for the report.
Certainly, Madam Toastmaster. All of our speakers qualify. $10 minutes even, and Toastmaster Therese Quaranta, 7 minutes, 12 seconds. Everybody's good.
Thank you. That's wonderful. Thank you, Jim. And everyone qualified, so let's please send the vote to Monica Tucker, who is our vote counter today. Send them privately. Teresa, John, or Hef. And that being said, we need to jump right into the next section of our meeting, table topics, and I will pass control over Graham right away because we don't have much time. Graham, please take it away.
Thank you, Dagmara. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Ladies and gentlemen, we are running behind time, and I do have a number of table topics I'd like to run through because there's an awful lot of people here. So I will ask all speakers, please restrict yourself to 60 seconds. So Jim, if we can have lights at 30, 45, and 60, that would be really good. All of the themes for the table topics today are related to today's theme, that is that it is Nobel Prize Day. And I'm going to start with a question. What is your favorite award, an award which you have been given, which is amongst your favorite things that you've ever been given? And I'll give that question to Teresa Palmer. Your favorite award, Teresa Palmer, that you have been given for 60 seconds.
Thank you so much, Graham. I just, in fact, received an award. It was an award for longevity and diversity in nursing practice. And off the top of my head, it's a Nelson something or other Who's Who of Nursing Award. And it was a very nice surprise because I never expected that I would get it. So that was something that I'm looking forward to receiving the plaque in a few weeks, and the announcement just came out. So that's my good news. Thank you, Darren.
Congratulations. Well done, Teresa, and thank you, and congratulations on that award. Teresa just spoke about that award being something that was unexpected, and that's our next table topic. I'd like you to tell me about an award that you simply had no idea that you were going to get. Angela, this one's for you.
Well, Graham, thank you so much. I would like to tell you about an award that I received that I had no idea that I was going to receive it. However, I can't remember ever having that experience, honestly. Not that I haven't received awards, but there were awards that I anticipated that were more traditional than a surprise in the insurance industry. I received some awards as a member of my professional association. But as far as receiving an award that I did not know I was going to get, I have not had that experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Angela. Hey, look, if you're deserving of the awards that you get and you know they're coming, then well done and more power to you. The flip side of that, though, is when you think you're going to get an award and you don't. How do you deal with that? Nicole, can you tell us about a time when you thought you were going to win something, a class prize, an award, something, and you didn't get it? How did you deal with that? How did you feel? So, Nicole D.
Nicole D, wonderful topic you have there. I can remember when I was very young, and in elementary school, we had relay races. I am not athletic. I'm not fast. However, we had this presentation where the gym teacher was calling out names and giving out these tiny little trophies. And, you know, he just kept calling names. And for some reason, I thought I might get an award. I didn't. I was highly disappointed. And I am one of those people that believes all children should get trophies because I'm however old I am right now, and I still remember that experience. Thank you.
Thank you, Nicole. One of my clubs, I might tell you, actually presents a trophy. It's only a small trophy, but it is a trophy, the Icebreaker Trophy, and that's presented to every Icebreaker speaker on the assumption that they may never win another trophy, but the Icebreaker is a speech that is worthy of being recognised. So one last question, because we are out of time. I'd like you to tell me what award you would most like to receive, Chris Gould.
Well, what I would most like to receive, and it would be the biggest surprise, is if I got an award for Mother of the Year. Yes, I think I have the best qualities of nurturing and helping along, but the only mothering I've ever done was to a dog. So I would be highly unlikely to get an award for Mother of the Year, but I think that would be quite nice to further my nurturing capabilities. Mr. Topic Master.
Thank you, Chris. And I have to say, if you are, as I understand, you are dealing with older people learning technology, there's some mothering skills, no doubt, going on there. Madam Toastmaster, that completes our table topic section, and all of our speakers are going to be eligible, quite obviously, because all of them spoke well under the 1 minute they allocated to them. So back to you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Graham. So we confirm that everyone qualified. Please send your votes to Mika Tucker, for Angie, Teresa, Nicole, or Chris. And now I would like to move quickly to the last segment of our meeting evaluation segment. So I will give it away to Sunny right now, and she will lead this part.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster of the Day, and I am here to help our team listen better. And this is a time that we can be uplifting to other members so they can come back and speak again. So in this first part, I'm going to introduce our evaluators to present their evaluations of prepared speakers. Then I'll turn the lectern back over to our Toastmaster of the Day, and she'll introduce our helpers. And then if time permits, I will give a general overall evaluation. So I want to start with our first evaluator, Scott Johnston. He will be evaluating the speech of Heb Sang. Scott, let's welcome Scott.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. It was my pleasure to evaluate Hev. And I can see that Hev's mantra is to pin somebody else's foundational phrase, stage time, stage time, stage time, because Hev is very active in the speaking role, and you can actually see the improvements coming through in his structure, in his speaking. And one of the things that Hev asked him to look at was his enunciations. And I think he is improving greatly. Every speech he gives, his words are becoming more clear, more defined. So I congratulate Hev for that, for his enunciations coming along. What I liked about Hev's, he had a very positive start. So he asked us the question, the big question at the start, which was fantastic. and then he had a very good structure. One thing I really liked about it, got us all involved. You know, put your hands up. That's really good. A really good ploy when you're giving a speech to involve the audience. It helps connect. So Hev did that extremely well. Went through and started talking about relating to babies, how successful they are, and then started speaking about Bill Gates, Mother Teresa, and who else was there? And Jackie, of course, the Chinese man, Jackie Chan, as he put it in his speech. So he had a great structure. He explained about success, and all through it, he explained what his success was. At the end, he came back and gave us what is your success? So he gave us, in summary, he gave us a question, one exact point that we need to take away from the speech. A couple of points for improvement for Hev. I would like to see, while he did give some hand gestures, I'd like to see above so we can actually see it. There was, we didn't really see much, and I think Hev was reading quite a lot of his speech because his eyes were quite focused down where he was reading his notes. So if you can think about putting your notes up on the screen so we can actually see some facial gestures and some eye movement, some eye contact, that would be great. And I think one thing that really detracted from your speech, Hev, was the slides, the pictures. If they had been put into a PowerPoint presentation or something like that, I think it would have been much more beneficial because it took away from our concentration when you asked who these pictures are, and then we have to put it into the chat monitor. So I would like if you continue the way you're doing, but just be cautious of your hand gestures, your eye contact, reading your notes, and maybe PowerPoint slides taking away from pictures that detracts from our concentration. But overall, your enunciations are improving dramatically, and you as a speaker, you are improving every speech. So congratulations to you, Hev. Back to you, General Evaluator.
Thank you, Scott. Now I'd like to call on our second evaluator, Jim Barber. He will be evaluating the speech of John Quick. Let's welcome Jim.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, my fellow Toastmasters, our guests, and especially Toastmaster John M. Quick. I'm going to save a little time by not going through repeating exactly which project you were working on because it's a rather involved thing. Let me cut strictly to the evaluation. John, you demonstrated, and I think everybody saw this, you demonstrated great video presence. I like your background, for instance. It's interesting, but without being distracting. You are well placed in it. Just the watcher is going to love everything that you did, I think. Vocal variety, you have crisp diction, you're easy to understand, your vocabulary, your pronunciation, everything works there. You have good eye contact. This enables you to establish a great rapport with your audience. Everything indicating that you are an experienced Toastmaster and you were demonstrating all those skills this evening. I have a couple of suggestions for you. Your voice is very, very soothing. Possibly too soothing. It's almost hypnotic. And after a couple of minutes of it, we're starting to waiting for you to suggest that we're going to be a chicken or something like that. I liked when you, at the middle of your speech, you broke it up by saying that, oh, you were going to pull your hair out. That was a break in the smooth presentation that you had been giving up to that point, and it worked out well. I would like to see you do something like that, either in terms of a gesture or a change in your vocal variety or something towards the beginning of your speech, and do it roughly every minute or so. It would make it a little bit easier to follow. Speaking of gestures, sometimes in your speech, you were, let's see if I can do this on video, your gestures were right here. They were at the very bottom of the screen so that we could see your fingertips, but we really didn't know what you were doing. That's a little bit distracting. If you're going to use your hands, either get them up so we can see them or get them down so that we can't see them. But here in the twilight zone at the bottom of the screen just doesn't particularly work. But those are minor points. You are a great advertisement for both Pathways and the Toastmasters program spectrum in general. And the last thing that I've got to say is meld. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Jim, for that great evaluation and some great tips, and including how to meld. Next, I would like to call on our third evaluator, David Carr, who will be evaluating the speech of Therese Quiranta. David?
Thank you, General Evaluator. Therese, I've been looking for an excuse to work in some reference to the Vulcan mind meld, where our minds are growing closer, closer. But I didn't need telepathy to understand the point of your speech. So this is a project that focuses on organization and definitely the clarity of your message coming through. And it was a fantastic speech. A brisk auction broke out for your set of props in the chat while you were progressing through your speech. The whole concept of the layered on glasses, the layered on filters, I think that in itself served as an organizational device. You know, one of the things that drives home is that you don't have to have organization in the form of, here's my first point, here's my second point, here's the third point. You can have that organically as part of the structure of what you're presenting. And another point that it drives home is that visual aids do not need to be digital. They do not need to be a PowerPoint slideshow, which is what we tend to fall back on as the default when we talk about visual aids in Toastmasters. But props, particularly clever, delightful props like the ones that you came up with, can definitely help to make for a better speaking presentation. And then the way, I think also that the concept of layered filters and the examples that you gave, particularly New York City, what does that conjure up in your mind? Well, to me, the layer that says, I have a child in New York is going to catch my attention. If there's a headline about danger in New York, threats to New York, I'm definitely going to be paying attention to that in a different way than somebody who has a less personal connection to what's going on in New York. You talked about also how this relates to us as speakers. The fact that you need to know something about your audience if you want to connect with your audience, if you want your audience to connect with you. Now, you use this example of the digital marketers, the Pepsi being able to know that somebody's a gay man before he knows that he's gay, and being able to target ads towards them. Maybe you could have had a little bit more of a connection to, you know, we don't have to have Facebook quantity data on an individual or on a group of people in order to target them. We need to do a little bit of research. We need to know that when we're walking into the room, that we're speaking to a group of millennials who are not going to understand our baby boomer jokes. And they're not going to understand references to the 1960s Star Trek because that's not the one that they've seen, if they've seen any of it. So I think it's overall a great message told in a very entertaining way. And yes, put me down for a set of your propped glasses. Absolutely. Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, David, for that evaluation. Yes, I think there's a line for those lenses. We've just finished our prepared speeches. Now we move on to the second part where teamwork makes the dream work. In the interest of time, all of our helpers, please keep your reports short but sweet. I will call on Jim Dent. He is going to give us the eye counter report. Jim?
Okay, thank you. I detected very little Oz, but to keep this short, I'm going to go with the person with the majority of filler words, which was Dagmara. You had several ahs and ums. You may want to look at the recording of this video once it gets posted and see where you're using the ahs and ums and why you're using them in those places to help improve yourself. You had the most, everybody else just had one or two, but I detected many people had nothing when they were speaking. They spoke with no detectable filler words. Back to you.
Thank you, Jim. Next, we will call on Carol Prahinsky to give the grammarian report and word of the day.
Thank you, Sunny. The word of the day was used 3 times orally. Sunny, Jim Barber, and David Carr. I saw it a lot in the chat, so it made me all happy and tingly. Now, in terms of conversation, there's a couple areas that I noticed. First, Sunny, I love this phrase you used. Teamwork makes dream work. I'd love to see us practicing more skills with our word choices. Now, a couple areas to work on. Hev, you said success mean, and what you meant was success means, plural. It's actually a verb, so you want to make sure the verb matches the noun. And then you use the phrase, the work you love to do, but you left off the L for love. So the work you love to do. And so I want to have you emphasize the L in that word. John, you used a lot of phrases such as these two. I went around speaking. I did a lot of speaking. And I almost suggest that you use the word I spoke, past tense, or I spoke frequently. And that would have helped your sentence structure as well. Everybody else did, oh, Jim Barber, I have you down as well. It would make it a little bit easier to follow was one of your sentences. The word it is used too often, and a little bit easier. You're trying to say you're trying to give feedback, and the little bit is suggesting, oh, it's just a little tiny thing, but it's not because you're mentioning it. Therefore, go ahead and just say, this needs to be worked on.
Yep.
Back to you, Madam General Evaluator.
Thank you, Carol. It's time now for the Watcher Report. Nick Lacani, all eyes are on you.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Now, what did I see? What I saw was, I'm not going to name them, but have a look at your video when you speak, and there was 4 or 5 of us who actually had some issues with the picture, maybe a light in the background, maybe a light on our face too much, maybe a little bit off center. There are a number of us like that, especially with one person had a dark background. So it's really important we think about what we're looking at or what other people will look at when they look at us. Now, one of the things I mentioned already is have your background interesting without being distracting. So, for example, get yourself a green screen background, as Santa is going to bring me at Christmas time, and have a go at it. Try things out. Try things out to make yourself come over better. And especially if you actually look better on screen. One example would be our VPE, Roger. Take a look at how he looks. Also, what Roger does is actually uses makeup, which is fantastic. So I'm going to get a pack of that. I think I need 2 packs of that. Okay. What I want you to think about is when you speak, where are you speaking? Are you speaking down here? Or are you speaking at the camera? Because if you want your message to come across in an authentic manner, look at the camera, look into the people's hearts. Okay. So what I really liked was Teresa, for example, great screen presence with the glasses and so on, but just watch out for the paper because it was too small to read, and also part of it was downstairs at where the label was. Okay, so have a think about this. In summary, decide whether you're going to be head and shoulders or head, shoulders, and cleavage, like Graham, for example. Well, when you're actually at rest, where are you looking? And when you're talking, where are you looking? More than anything, just be aware and try your best at all times. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Nick. Can we talk, or rather can we chat? Viviana Wadada, it's time for the chat monitor report. Viviana?
Hello, there is a map of conversation here. So mostly about success and pathways, and the most important is the invitation of a pathway webinar from Roger, and I will repost it again. Okay, sorry. Back to you, Sunny.
Thank you very much, Viviana, for that report. And now Jim Gould to give us the timer's report. Time is not on our side, but you go for it, Jim.
Oh my. Okay, all of our speakers qualified. All of our Toastmaster have sang 729, John Quick 10, Therese Quantara 712. Our evaluators all qualified, although David Carr just melded right in there just under the number at 326. Jim Barber 236 and Scott Johnston 309. Have at it.
Thank you. I will. Thank you, Sunny. I will take it from here because we are running out of time. Thank you, Madam General Evaluator. Thank you, everyone, for helping out. We would like to find out finally who are our winners of the day so we can conclude our meeting.
Okay, our best speaker goes to Teresa Coranta. The best table topics goes to Chris Gould. And best evaluator goes to Jim Barber. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Thank you so much and congratulations to our winners. I'm very pleased that we had such an amazing meeting and we had 27 guests today. People, and maybe not guests, but that's a wonderful number. Thank you again so much, and this concludes my responsibilities for today. Please welcome our President, Jim Den, to finalize this meeting.
Okay, thank you. I think we had a few guests tonight. I think Dr. Watkins, you were a guest tonight, is that right?
Yes, sir, that's correct.
What did you think of the meeting?
I thought the meeting was great. Really enjoyed the fact that there's so many members that are present and a lot of wonderful feedback that I have received to help me personally. So definitely looking forward to joining the club.
Okay, great.
Thank you.
And Peggy Classer, are you a guest also?
No, I've
Or are
recently
you a
joined.
member?
I've
Okay,
recently
that's what I
joined in the
thought.
last couple weeks.
Okay. Teresa Palmer, are you a guest yet or a member yet?
I'm still a guest, and as usual,
Okay.
been here a couple of times, and I really enjoyed the meeting. I like the online presence. I like the variety of the types of speeches, and I thought the evaluations were very good. So thank you for having me, and I may come back next week. We'll see.
Well, we hope you come back next week. I hope both of you come back.
Otherwise, I'll have to
Is there
wait
any
till
other
2019.
Any other guests I missed? Everybody else is a member? Well, don't forget we have our last meeting of the year next week. So please show up and invite some friends to come along too for last meeting. We do have some open roles, which is all counter, timer, grammarian, watcher, and vote counter. So if you want to take one of those, please sign up early before they get grabbed. So we're completely set when the beginning of the meeting starts. I've got nothing else to say.
And Jim, we will next week in the meeting, we have 3 feature speakers from Carol, Viviana, and Angela.
Yes. Lou, do you have something?
No, I would say woohoo, ladies' night.
Okay.
Graham.
Mr. President, just before we go, one of the things that I really like to see in a Toastmasters Club is congratulations offered when they are due for somebody who has achieved a major achievement. John made reference to it earlier, but he has become a level 5. So what is it? Yours was not presentation master. Yours was one of those weird ones that I haven't done.
Strategic relationship.
SR5. Now, there are very few SR5s in the world, and I think that we as a club should congratulate John Quick for becoming one. Well done, John.
Yeah, I just got to my level 5 in my 2 paths. It's going to take me about 6 months. So later this spring, hopefully I'll finish those 2. So I'm starting my 3rd path in the meantime.
I was saying to Viviana before, she was asking, do you have to, complete a path? And I was saying, no, you don't have to. But one of the advantages of doing more than one path is that when you get to level 5 and you've got those 6-month jobs or having to do a high performance leadership, which 2 of my paths have required, you can get started on doing other stuff in the other paths as well. And then just keep working, just keep working.
I want to throw out just a little hint. Look for links coming up in the next couple of weeks, as there will be a series of Pathway DTMs being interviewed, and they will be sharing some of their experience, good, bad, and ugly, in what they have accomplished, where they have applied their skill set and that they have learned in Pathway. I will just keep it at that, and I will make a full announcement when those interviews are ready. Is there anyone else have any comments or announcement before we close? With nothing, our meeting is officially adjourned. Goodbye. Sign up for roles, and
Cheers.
Jim Barber will have control next week.
Cheers.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, everybody. Good night.
Good night.
Good night.